Okay, so this is the worst it has ever gotten. Everything in me tells me I should be on my way to a hospital right now. But you know, if you're on the verge of completely losing your mind, that means you can come back from it, right? So maybe I shouldn't call for help until I really, really, really need it. And then again, that could be horrible, horrible advice, but I'm not thinking clearly at the moment. Maybe I should be, calling my mother or an ambulance. I don't know. But I feel super spaced out. Like it's hard to cognitively grasp much of what is physically around me. Like, I mean, that bookshelf, window, I see things, but my attachment to them in physical space is foggy. Everything's foggy, hazy, hard to focus on. It's like, it feels like I'm wandering around in a mist. Like, it's hard to think, it's hard to cognitively perceive the things that are around me. Okay? That's disturbing in and of itself, but that's not where the urgency of this situation comes in. The problem is that is being accompanied by severe agitation, emotional hell that is so overwhelming that I can't do anything to calm myself down. And see, you guys, I started this project of recording these videos at a point when, see, things gradually got worse over time. About every 24 hours, I would wake up, and a few hours after waking up, I'd realize today is worse than it was yesterday. And the next day, I'd say today is worse than it was yesterday. And the next day, today is worse than it was yesterday. And I saw that pattern developing, and I said, well, shit, I need help then before it gets too bad. And then I came to this really, really unfortunate realization, which is that doctors have no interest in helping me anytime soon. I've got appointments that are like 16 days from now, but each day this stuff gets worse. And right now, my judgment is so poor, and my emotions are so high that I wouldn't put it past me, unfortunately, and I know this is horrible, but I wouldn't put it past me to grab that TV right there and throw it through that window and then cut my wrists on the glass, okay? Now, if I had an impulse to do that, I'd stop what I'm doing and call 911 for help. But the fact is, I'm so out of control that making these videos and grounding myself are the only thing that reels me in. And I need help. But as I discussed in my previous video, you send me to a mental hospital, they're going to pump me full of sedatives and not diagnose what's wrong with me, kick me out, and then I either choose to live the rest of my life as a zombie while my mind slowly deteriorates, or I come off the sedatives and we're back to ground zero, the beginning of the whole situation. And I'll be here making videos like this again. I need treatment. I need a diagnosis. Maybe the logical thing is to go to a mental hospital where they can sedate me for the next 16, 17 days until I can see a neurologist. And then they can discharge me on the day of the appointment. I can come off the sedatives, go to the neurologist, and maybe they can help me. I'm just having a really hard time right now. I don't know what the appropriate decision is. I don't know what needs to happen here. But I have a serious problem in my brain. And I've dealt with bipolar disorder and anxiety and depression my whole life. And I can say to you, without hesitation, this is not mental symptoms that are being caused by a mental illness. This is something else, especially when you get the physiological stuff coinciding with it. Like the pressure in my head will build up really high, and then I'll get really angry out of nowhere. I don't know. I'm too out of it, and my mind is racing too fast to give you coherent reasons that I am confident that this is not just me going crazy. But you have to understand, I have obsessively monitored, recorded, and researched my health for 2 months now. And I spent 9 days in a mental hospital where they told me it was not a psychiatric issue, it was neurological. I have a lot of data that I can't recall right now. It's in my brain, but I can't remember it. I have a lot of data that very clearly supports that this is not strictly a mental illness thing. This is either a neurological problem that has psychiatric symptoms, or this is a comorbidity, which is a medical term. It means 2 diagnoses at once, and one of them is mental illness, and the other one is a physical problem, like a severe sinus infection, or what is the pre-meningitis swelling? I think it's like encephalitis, or maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember anything right now. The point is, I'm not just losing it. I know that. I mean, I am losing it, but it's not happening just on its own. Something's causing it. And I need somebody to find out what that is. Because I've tried. And I don't have the medical equipment or the training or the knowledge or the cognitive stability to be able to find out what's wrong with me. I'm going to have to put my life in the hands of doctors. And most of the ones I've seen in the past 2 months, which is several, have been absolute garbage. So right now I'm staring down the end. I'm looking at the potential. You know, I very well may be taken to a mental hospital in about an hour when my mom gets home. And I could wind up in a really god-awful, horrible one where they treat the patients like animals. I've been to those before. And at the rate that my health is deteriorating, I will just get worse. And they will pump me full of horrible medications that nobody should be on, let alone somebody whose brain is going to shit. And I'll have no one there to advocate for me. No one there to make sure that doesn't happen. Best case scenario, I go to a good mental hospital and they still are not equipped to diagnose what's wrong with me. And then I just continue deteriorating as I have been for weeks. And by the time I get out and I'm supposed to see my neurologist, I mean, if I'm as confused then as I am now, I won't be able to clearly communicate what the problem is. He will have to read my notes from my journal for the past 2 months to try and make a diagnosis, which is not an ideal situation at all. And some people have hope for me. They've told me that. But I really feel like at this rate, I may go completely insane, or die, or just be a vegetable. That may be the outcome of this. Because I've lost my faith in doctors. I've seen... Let's actually try to do some recall here, even though my memory is bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Six. Seven. 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know, this was probably boring you guys to watch me count. I've seen at least 13 doctors. And they have ranged from, we can't help you, to one woman who actually told me to get out of her office. She was angry that I was there because she looked at my chart and saw how many physicians I had seen before her. And I guess in her opinion, I was just bouncing around for the fun of it, racking up medical debt for no reason, just because I got my kicks that way. But nobody has offered any even basic solution aside from the people in the mental hospital who said I have schizophrenia. But according to the Diagnostic Statistic Manual for mental illness, it's called the DSM-5, for you to be diagnosed with schizophrenia, you have to have hallucinations, period. So they're just idiots. I mean, there are spin-off diseases like schizoaffective disorder and stuff like that. But I mean, while you're still, I mean, the primary psychiatrist at the hospital had been practicing medicine, she said, for like 56 years. When you're in college, you learn what the diagnostic material for the main diseases are. I mean, bipolar disorder, you have mood swings and, you know, manic episodes, depressive episodes, hallucinations, delusions. With schizophrenia, you have hallucinations and delusions and disorganized thinking. You know, with depression, loss of interest in activities. I mean, you get the point. These are basic things that even I know. And someone who's been doing it for 56 years doesn't know that it's a diagnostic prerequisite to have hallucinations to be diagnosed with schizophrenia? I am losing hope. I need treatment now. I'm supposed to see a neurologist in like 15, 16 days. And I'm supposed to see a psychiatrist in 3 days. I need treatment now. As agitated and unsafe as I felt when I started this video, if that gets any worse, I'm gonna be like grabbing the handcuffs that are on the desk over there because my stepdad's a prison guard, and I'm gonna be handcuffing myself to the refrigerator and calling 911 so I can't hurt myself. I need urgent help. But here's the kicker. That help would be aggressive, rude emergency room personnel who have no interest in figuring out what's wrong with me. And then followed by anywhere from old school asylum mental hospital where the nurses are abusive and the doctors sedate every patient. And I've been to them, they still exist. All the way up to a 5-star facility where, you know, you have a cushy bed and wonderful meals and, you know, top of their class, Ivy League doctors. But here's the problem. Even those guys are not equipped to handle neurological problems. Why is it so hard to see a neurologist on an urgent basis? I mean, I literally lost everything I had in my life. Everything that was going for me. Saved up money, gone. Job, gone. Apartment, gone. I lost everything. Even my independence. I can't do things by myself without freaking out. And now I'm losing my mind and my safety and my ability to be alone. I mean, this is borderline what could be considered a psychiatric emergency. Yet it's still not enough to see a neurologist any sooner than weeks from now. There is literally no way to see a neurologist any sooner unless you're in a hospital, like, with blood pouring into the inside of your brain and they need a neurological consult. That's the only way to quickly see a neurologist. And call me crazy, but I think bashing my head in might be counterproductive. I'm in a bad place and it keeps getting worse. And I know what I need to do to keep myself safe, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome is going to be good for me, even if I do survive. This is horrible.